Hi, Kit. I apologize for the delayed reply to your video that you sent to me. I've been thinking a lot about what I can give you that will help you. But when it comes down to it, you're doing really good. So I detect frustration in your voice, and I just want to let you know that you're on the right track. There's a couple of bits of advice that I can give you that I hope will help. You're asking about string crossings, so I will talk about those in a second. I think when you're playing your, what was it, the cotillion, I don't know that fiddle tune, but it was the something cotillion. You're using too much bow. As a good student, you've been told to use good bow, and that's a good thing. But there's a big but there, and that is there's such thing as using too much bow. So if using big bow starts to backfire or cause you to lose control, bring it in a little bit. So try that, especially when you have lots of string crossings. You're going to want to use less bow. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is your string crossings are too big, especially when you're going to the E string or the G string. We have these cutouts here that allow us to make enormous string crossings without any penalty. And so to go from A to E, you can change the bow at this enormous angle because there's not another string in the way. You can't do that if you're going from the D string to the A string, because you've got other strings that you'll hit. So when you're going from the A to the E or the D to the G, the temptation is to indulge in string crossings that are too big. You need to make your string crossings, instead of a great big figure 8 or circle. Wish I had grab a pencil really quick. Oy, nothing is where it's supposed to be. Let me draw 2 figure 8s. So your string crossings are kind of shaping themselves like this big fat figure 8. Too much vertical motion. You need to make it into a flattened figure 8. Let me show you. So instead of, just go like this. And you can practice open strings to get this and look in a mirror, and practice starting on down bow on A and then doing repeated string crossings. And then just to be thorough, start doing up bow on A. And that way you cover all of the possible combinations of your string crossings. Now, let me just interrupt myself by acknowledging that you were saying I have so much material on my site, you're not sure what to watch. If you go to my YouTube channel, you can search Red Desert Violin string crossings, and you'll come up with some helpful videos for that. But other than that, I have a hard time knowing where to find specific videos in my lessons as well. What I usually do is I go to my lesson summary on my computer. I keep them in a folder, and then I just use Windows Explorer and I search for the keyword that I'm looking for, string crossings or vibrato or whatever, and it'll bring up all of the units where I talked about that, and then from there I can usually find what a student needs. So it's a bit of a problem, but you can always ask me and I'll help you locate lessons. And also make sure you print out your lesson video, your lesson summaries, and highlight, put post-it notes in places that are extremely relevant or most meaningful to you. Okay, so then you're going to use less bow. You're going to use smaller string crossings. Be as lazy as possible. And the last thing I want to talk about is, you were questioning, should I emphasize the wrist bend on the string crossing? No. So the wrist needs to be flexible at all times. It needs to be flexible for for bow changes. You see my wrist kind of waving a little bit, and the fingers respond as an extension of the wrist. It's very Tai Chi. So you just need to make sure that everything on your bow arm is very flexible. But what was I going to say? I'm not starting this video over. We're going to stick with it. I'm on vacation, so I have a little bit of vacation brain. The flexible wrist, I think you're thinking about the flexible wrist and the collé motion. That is more for bow changes. Watch this. Now watch. You see my wrist? That's to help us navigate and smooth out the bow change at the frog. Now for string crossings, you can, and I'm going to send you a link because I just remembered I do have a video about this. You can think of string crossings as being from the elbow, like I call it stirring the gravy, but you won't have your elbow pinned to your ribs. You'll have it here up in the air, and you can draw little circles. Watch this. See how it's my elbow from my forearm making circles from the elbow joint. Or if you're wanting to make extremely small string crossings and it's in a quiet dynamic, you can do it exclusively with the wrist. You see how it's coming mostly from my wrist. But 99.9% of the time it's going to be a combination of elbow with a little enhancement from the wrist and a little more enhancement from the fingers. So don't confuse the wrist participation of bow changes with the wrist participation in string crossings. They're kind of the same motion but different functions, different purposes. And what I saw was you were thinking of a string crossing and you started doing this artificially with your wrist because you wanted to do what you're supposed to do with your wrist. Think of your string crossings as being from the elbow, but with a relaxed, flexible wrist. Okay, now I'm going to go dig up that video for you that is exclusively about string crossings. It may or may not address exactly what you're looking for, but I think the more information you can get on string crossings right now will probably help you. Sorry this video was long and rambling. Like I said, I'm very unfocused this month because I'm giving my brain a break. So you're doing really well. Try not to be frustrated. Violin can be frustrating, but you're doing better than many, many, many people. Okay, so take care.